You've got ESG, which is being used to align corporations that are not naturally aligned. It could be used, something like it could be used to align them in the direction of things, solving game theory problems. But this is really functioning as an excuse to align them around a particular set of signals that they are on board with the crypto fascist move that we are now collectively being dragged into. And so along the lines of, why would Gillette or Anheuser-Busch thumb its nose at some huge fraction of its market? Why would Fox News burn Tucker Carlson and his audience in a way that is infuriating, right? People who would ordinarily, if Tucker had quit, would still be Fox News viewers, are enraged at this, as they should be. So why would they do that? And I was talking to Zach about this in the car this morning, and he reminded me of a concept. It actually, the first time I said it was the last time I met the last class I taught at Evergreen. We met in a park. Maybe it wasn't the very last time. It was the second to last time I met them. Met in a park because it wasn't safe to be on campus. And I had been invited to go on Joe Rogan's program. And I barely knew who Joe Rogan was. These people, of course, knew who Joe Rogan was because they were a good bit younger. And so he was an important person in their lives. And anyway, I gave them a little talk about the oddness that their professor was going on this apparently important program and why that would be happening based on what was going on at their school and all of this. And I said to them, take very careful notes on what's going on. We will not be back this way again, right? I knew that this was a one-way trip, that this was not something that was going to be put back together. It couldn't be. And so anyway, why would Fox News burn Tucker Carlson in this audience? Because they're playing a new dynamic in which they know they won't be back this way again. They don't need Tucker, or they need to have Tucker Carlson gone more than they need him for some nebulous future in which they're playing their traditional role. That's the thing that I want to surface here, is that they are actually, there's some good news in this. I know I'm not the good news guy, but there is some good news in this, because in order for them to have taken the step of getting rid of Tucker, two things are true. One, they've revealed themselves, right? They have alerted us that there is something on the march that is behaving very strangely and does not appear to be just a simple corporation trying to, get an audience.
Right.
It's something else. So be aware. There's something on the march. That's one thing. But here's the other thing. Why did they reveal themselves in this way? They did it because they are insecure, and that is good news. The fact is, they are concerned about something enough that they had to make that move, and I think I know what it is.
Okay, maybe. I'm not. I don't see why a move that is a paradox is inherently a reveal of insecurity. It could just be the next step.
No, it could be the next step. But the thing is, if you want to claim that people are, paranoid, then not making moves that they can spot and say, that's a very odd thing for a media company to do, to go after its biggest, chunk of audience and enrage them, right? That's a weird thing to do. So why would they do that rather than continue to hide? If they were feeling secure, it wouldn't be worth making that aggressive move.
Well, no, again, I would say it could be about feeling insecure, but it also could be about being on the move. They could feel secure, but also be on the move in pursuit of something.
I believe they are, but I believe they have been forced out of hiding in some sense. That the point is they can't just simply march where they're going, that there's actually something. They know that they're in danger. And I think in part they know that they're in danger because Trump revealed that their control, the duopoly's ability to shut out anything meaningful, is not complete. Which then raises this odd paradox. You had RFK Jr. going on Tucker Carlson's program, right? This is supposed to be matter and antimatter, right? This is a dyed-in-the-wool liberal from a famously liberal, important family going on the program of arch-conservative Tucker Carlson to announce his bid for the Democratic nomination for the president. And that is a remarkable fact in and of itself. And the fact that Tucker Carlson is, of course, hospitable is very troubling. Why? Because this
Troubling?
is
What do you mean troubling?
it's troubling to the forces to Goliath.
Okay.
It's troubling because effectively, why would people who are politically so far apart be finding common cause? Why would this be anything other than a very contentious interview in which Tucker Carlson is trying to get to the bottom of RFK's liberalism and show it to be false? Why would it be, a meeting of unity and alignment? Well, because they're both patriots. And the point is, Goliath is not patriotic at all. Goliath wants to maintain control and the illusion of democracy, but cannot afford democracy. And so, here's my contention, just to sum it up. Bobby Kennedy is terrifying to the DNC because
As well he should be.
in office, he would do the job that Democrats are supposed to do, and that is in direct conflict with the DNC's business model. And the DNC is not supposed to have a business model, but it very clearly does. And so it panders to its voters, but its real constituents are not voters. It's powerful, rent-seeking elites. Bobby Kennedy would have the bully pulpit in the role of president and considerable power. And it is much more terrifying to the DNC than something like Trump. In fact, Trump is good for the DNC because the DNC does not have a valid argument in favor of electing its candidates other than Trump, right? So they fear RFK Jr. And so here's the point. RFK Jr. goes on Tucker Carlson's program and reveals in showing up there and having a cordial conversation about about a bid for the presidency, the danger to Goliath. And here's what I think is afoot. Tucker Carlson's position has been very similar to what happened in podcast world over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. Although he sat in a mainstream media chair, his position was quite heterodox. And the point is, if you were going to make a move in which you were going to somehow learn the lesson that Goliath should learn from COVID and realize that although it owned all of the big media properties, that it could not maintain control over the narrative, and that truth emerged, not fully, but across lab leak, across repurposed drugs, vaccine safety and effectiveness, the proliferation of variants, all of these things, the actual narrative broke through the media control because Goliath did not understand what podcast world was or why anybody would listen to somebody in a man cave or any of those things.
Or sauna.
Or sauna, for example. So the point is, let's say that that's going to happen over the course of the next electoral cycle through the presidential election.
What's going to happen?
That we are going to have a battle in which the mainstream media is all going to sing from the same hymnal, and podcast world is going to reveal the insanity of that hymnal. And worse, Twitter, being a free property because Musk has freed it, is going to be a place where we can discuss the paradox of why the mainstream media is focused on a narrative that's obviously not true, right? And you might have an actual presidential figure running for office, right? Not a wrecking ball like Trump, but somebody who actually aspires to right the ship of state. So My contention is Tucker couldn't remain in a mainstream seat because what he is doing crosses over into the mainstream. And if it is shunted over into podcast world, then whatever this force is can, I don't know if it's going to use ISPs or credit card processors or whatever it's going to use against podcast world, or some industrial strength propaganda campaign that learned the lesson of COVID and, proceeds to do a better job. But the point is, Tucker had to be shoved out because his mainstreamness was out. It did not fit whatever is coming. And I would just say a prediction of this model is that the other person on the other side of the aisle who fits that same description.
Don Lemon.
No, I don't. Don Lemon is a very different property.
That's what I thought. So who you're thinking of?
Bill Maher.
Oh.
That Bill Maher is also a heterodox person with a large audience sitting in a mainstream seat. And, it's funny. I had that thought, and then I happened on Twitter. I didn't know Elon Musk had been interviewed by Bill Maher, but I think this must have happened yesterday. And anyway, they allude to this jokingly that Bill Maher, Elon is the Grim Reaper or the Typhoid Mary of talk shows, that, Tucker interviewed him and now Tucker is out of a job. And so they joked
that... Is there just one previous example?
I don't know. That's the one I know. But but they joke maybe Bill Maher is next. But I wonder if Bill Maher, either something works to chasten Bill Maher, which I hope is impossible. I hope he's just a free man and can evade whatever controls they are. But if not, you might wonder if his mainstream seat might be in jeopardy in the upcoming year because the election.
If all of this is true, and I think I don't see anything to object to in your analysis except for your contention that this necessarily reveals a lack of security on the part of Fox. I think it's even more important that, for lack of a better descriptor, podcast world, non-mainstream media world, stop the infighting already. So you mentioned podcasters and Twitter, and obviously in written word, Substack is the main contender there, and the shenanigans that Elon Musk continues to pull with Substack are untenable. Like that is breaching unwritten, unspoken agreements, sort of gentlemen's agreements that I think we assumed that we had, and that really should go back into place because we're in it. We're in it for society here. Like this is big. Goliath is super powerful, and as much as a single billionaire like Musk is going to be very, very powerful himself, if podcast world and Bobby Kennedy Jr. and Twitter and Rumble and Locals and Substack can stop the infighting, then we have a better chance. So at the moment, just as a reminder, briefly, Twitter had stopped allowing any Substack links to be clicked through on at all. You got an error message. This might be dangerous stuff. And that actually stopped happening while we were talking about it on air a couple weeks ago. But quietly, and I've heard no one talk about this, what has replaced that insane policy is now you can link to a Substack, but it just shows up as a line of indecipherable, hot linkable text, and the social media assets don't come along with it. So you don't get the image that comes along with the thing, and it's not interesting to share, and so stuff is not being shared. So come on, stop that. There is no reason beyond the really petty competitive stuff between a future Twitter property and what is established as Substack, and the future Substack property, notes on Twitter, going after each other competitively. But this is not helpful.
So I'm going to propose something. The unholy alliance built around ESG has to have a countervailing force. And the countervailing force is those properties that are actually built to protect the values around the West, around which the West is founded. Most importantly, a free exchange of ideas. And so what I would propose is that the countervailing force, the honorable alignment, and I'm not suggesting these businesses aren't in competition, but the honorable force should be the internet beyond the wall. And
Internet
the idea,
beyond the
the
wall,
internet
okay.
beyond the wall, the free people of the internet need to look out for each other. We may have our differences, but we need to look out for each other because the real enemy is Goliath, and that is enough of a hazard to the West that all of the other stuff is secondary. So yes, Elon, I would ask you, maybe there's stuff we can't see, but please be mindful of the fact that the public square cannot be a monopoly. That's not how it's going to work.